What is up? Florida Man does weather. We are back with another forecast. This time it's going to be a little bit more of a general forecast, and then we'll get into a more focused severe weather forecast video tomorrow, most likely. So for right now, I've got the European ensembles temperature mean up. So that's just every member of the ensemble package averaged out. So you can clearly see still where that upper level low is sitting around, just influencing everything that's going on. Florida, we're now behind it a little bit, so our temperatures are a lot more comfortable, a lot lower humidities. New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, you are in the big rain shield at this point, and then everywhere else in this area that I'm circling, you're still going to have these little pop-up storms kind of spinning around with that low pressure, but it will move off to the east. And specific for down here in Florida, we got Rockville Music Festival coming up, and it is going to get downright hot. Not as hot as it is in Texas, which, it's pretty rare when the ensembles are pinging temperatures this high. You're going to be absolutely baking for the next few days in Texas. There's excessive heat warnings down there already. Um, it's just a rough time overall. Typical Texas in July type of weather, but came a little early this year.
Interesting to
So,
note too, Caleb, on that note, before you move on to anything else. They said, I saw a thing where they said that they believe this could be the highest temperatures pinged by an ensemble member. There are some parts of Southwest Texas that some of the ensemble members are predicted can go as high as 114 Fahrenheit. Obviously, the prediction, the forecast, they're sticking with more reasonable, but still record for the top for the season highs of like 102. But Southwest Texas, some of the ensembles are ramping it all the way up. So that's just an interesting note. That was a meteorologist that I saw earlier today that said that this was arguably the high. It could be the highest temperatures that have been forecast by an ensemble member today. That's just an
yeah,
interesting tidbit.
yeah, and some of the modeled soundings I've pulled, it's had the max temperature calculations, which that's more of a theoretical thing. But it's had some of it at like 106, and then your convective temperature like 112. Like this ridiculous amount of heat is likely to happen down there. But we're gonna feel a little bit too as we get into tomorrow. It's still looking pretty comfortable across Florida, but Thursday is gonna be hot in Daytona especially. We'll be in the low 90s, and then upper 80s to potentially mid 80s towards the coast. And it'll also depend on if you are in front of the sea breeze or behind it. You'll be a little bit cooler behind the sea breeze. You'll know it when you feel that wind direction shift. But that heat just continues to build over
Um,
Daytona throughout the weekend. We go just gradually warmer into the 90s. I think by Sunday, we'll probably hit like 94, 93, and that'll be a sweat day. So it's going to be the Rockville Sweatville Music Festival. A lot of stink, a lot of stink I anticipate when I'm out there. But yeah, for the most part, everywhere else is going to start warming up. That upper level low begins to really slide off, and it's really just kind of dying as it does so. But then we've got a new player emerging, as you can see by this big pocket of cooler temperatures out here. So now we'll break into a little bit more of our wind patterns with that. So this is today at like 1 p.m. Eastern time, 1 or 2 p.m. Eastern time. This is 5. So you can still see that upper level low starts to degrade a little bit and translate off to the northeast.
kind of
Meanwhile,
opens
you've
up.
got opens up nice. Then you've got this big trough settling into the west, a nice ridge, and we're still a little bit under the influence of it. So, your temperatures aren't going to be too bad tomorrow down in Florida. Just checking this. This says 90, but I kind of have my doubts on that. There's going to be some spotty cloud cover, but we'll see. We'll see. But as we get into tomorrow, there's a severe weather risk up in this region. I'll go ahead and show y'all that. Right now, it's not looking too bad in terms of the tornado threat, just a big, broad 2% risk. Wind threats there, and then a little bit more of a focused hail threat, mainly just because up here it's you're going to have a little bit weaker of an instability profile, but still supportive of downdraft production within storms, and then still with the influence of that upper level low, you could see something sneaky out here with these little cells. It's more of a low cape, low shear kind of environment. So it's been really spotty.
My 2 cents on that is you're always going to want, at least until we get things resolved, my personal opinion. I'm always going to err on the side of caution and treat a situation in, say, North, South Dakota, Nebraska as the higher end just to play it safe because that whole area is the area that you don't have um, steady 2 times a day balloon data. So your results are either going to be underplayed, overplayed. The CISO, the GFS is introducing error as a result of those balloon launches not being consistent, and they are showing the accuracy charts are showing that it's taking its toll. But that's going to especially be focused in that area, particularly the areas serviced by the South Dakota and Nebraska stations, because they're not getting daily. They're getting like one launch a day, and I think one of the stations out there is getting none a day right now, and only as needed, and that's significantly going to impact predictions for that area. That's obviously bleeding into the rest of the country, but especially impacting, specifically impacting that region right there in the Northern Plains.
Yeah, I think Omaha, they only launch in the evenings now. Uh, Wisconsin is kind of a data hole. Iowa's kind of a data hole as well. And then big time up here.
The gap right there.
But
Yep.
whoops, didn't mean to do that. Push that back all the way back. But yeah, as we get into Wednesday, so you can see this trough starts to kick out a little bit into that region, and you get some higher level of flow at the 500 millibar level, as well as some pretty good diffluence across the area. So I don't expect this to be the biggest day. There's definitely going to be some strong and severe storms out there. You've got a good plume of instability. Um, Not too much eye catching on the photographs. Supercells are definitely going to be supported once this kicks off, but I think things will pretty quickly go linear
Oh yeah.
into the evening. And then Thursday is the day that a lot of weather pages have been really going off about, and I understand, but there are a lot of caveats with Thursday.
Yep.
So I know there's an enhanced risk up here now, and I think that's more going to be significant severe hail,
Yep.
maybe even significant severe wind, and an off chance for a strong EF2 or stronger tornado. Your trough is taking on a really strong negative tilt, especially up in here. That's going to be felt. So storms are going to initiate real fast in this big arcing band, and initially they are going to be discrete cells, just due to the way the vectors are really positioned relative to your front. So things are going to kick off of that boundary pretty quick, but you can already see the caveat. We've still got capping issues that are going to be present up here. I think the forcing into Wisconsin is going to be more than enough to overcome that. It'll cool this off, and then you'll have big storm development. But further south across Illinois, your boundary is going to be moving a lot slower, and you're also going to have more of a capping issue. So that's the real major caveat. So over here, you can see 87-degree temperature. This is taken at 21Z, so right about peak heating. But your convective temperature is 95 degrees due to the amount of warm air a little bit above in the lower atmosphere. That's the cap on things. But
Right.
Your shear also supportive of significant supercells. I would say definitely potential force very large hail if a storm develops, but I honestly kind of doubt the storm development part of that. What are your thoughts?
Well, I agree with you. Because like you were saying, there's a lot of people talking about that initial arc of supercells. I think it's going to go predominantly linear. Um, it if it does fire, I am a little leery seeing it that that one right there looks a little better, but the inversion on some of the previous granted, like you say, enforcing and moisture return will displace that inversion and make it easier to overcome. But we've seen way too many setups this year get capped out. I mean,
Hmm.
we've had two marginals now in that area get capped out. And it's history repeats itself. I mean, years models show particular trends. Uh they show particular trends during the year. And it looks like this year, with the degraded data, our trend is overblown or under red caps. And so I don't know. That's just kind of what my gut's saying. My gut's saying this cap's going to be stronger than they're thinking, but I could be wrong. But that's my 2 cents. I do think that cap's going to be a challenge to overcome, particularly considering those forecast soundings don't look near as good as some of the forecast soundings we've had in previous events.
Hmm.
With similar forcing. We've had similar forcing in at least two mod risks prior to this, and the cap just held the line. And it's been the cap has been underrepresented, particularly in that Omaha area. And so downwind to that Omaha area, I have my gut feeling says that that is the case again.
Yeah, I agree. And then, we'll still have to watch because as we get into the overnight, that stronger flow is going to overspread the area and you still
Right.
have a little bit of diffluence out there. So, the low level jet will kick up if there's a storm, strong tornado potential, definitely available out there.
Yeah.
But, I just don't think there's going to be a storm that goes. And then into the
No.
overnight, the real core of your jet starts to overspread the Ozarks region, which is why that slight risk goes all the way down into here because we're expecting supercells to fire down here. Honestly, I'm more certain in this location going off. This will be more of a like a true overnight threat. So I'll even advance it a little bit further just so you can see how it modifies. But you get to build a little bit more instability. Your photographs start to get longer. It becomes a bit more favorable for supercells as we go into the overnight Thursday into Friday. And then Friday becomes your threat out here. I think we're going to be dealing with mainly straight line photographs with a little bit of low level curvature in there. So there could be some tornadoes, but there's going to be some wonky stuff going on. I think it will just depend on what the storm is vectoring towards. If it's a right mover, it's going to have better access to that streamwise vorticity. If not, it's going to be mainly a hail producer. Maybe some strong winds if things can cluster up. But then as we
Outflow
go through,
boundaries. We'll have to watch the outflow boundaries.
yeah, definitely. As we get into this weekend, that persistent southwesterly flow continues. We still have a bit of troughing out west that has yet to work in, and this is just going to kind of send repeat short waves through, and then it becomes dry line days once again, as you've just got that strong 500 millibar flow across the region. Saturday, I don't think looks as good. Sunday was another day that is getting pinged pretty well because of that big old trough slamming in. Now, this right here, the GFS is pinging initiation out here, but I'll take it back just 1 hour so you can kind of read the environment. Not 1 hour, one
3 hours.
click, 3 hours. Um, we'll pull a modeled sounding. So this would demonstrate a high-end environment right here. If we see soundings like this, hopefully they will launch a special sounding in Oklahoma prior to initiation. But if we see something like this, you are going to get big storms. The problem is Oklahoma this year, due to that extensive drought in the Southwest, that capping layer around here has been quite extensive and pretty much always under forecast by the models.
Yeah.
So I have my doubts with Oklahoma, at least for Sunday. By Monday, I think the moisture will be so staunchly in place that it'll be able to overcome that cap, and you're going to have a little bit more overspreading of the trough and the higher, the stronger flow into that region. So you're probably going to have a severe risk kind of like this. And I'm willing to bet that this sounding either looks better or has a bigger cap. So that's more realistic. That's what I think is going to be there Sunday,
Yeah.
instead of what it showed. But I could be wrong. It could not be there because maybe the flow hadn't been in place for long enough at 700 millibars to bring in such an extensive dry layer. But we'll have to find out. We're still so far away from this day that it's almost pointless to look at. But I like to do it just to get kind of a general idea of trends and patterns within this model. But
Yeah, that's mainly a signal. Once you get outside of 120 hours, it's mainly just looking at the signal. The signal's there. The signal's really strong. Like you were saying, I mean, those are some absolutely apocalyptic photographs, but
mhm.
um, that's the GFS. The GFS is already spinning up hurricanes. I mean, out of nothing. So the GFS is known, and particularly with the model having its lack of data fed issues recently, some of its old haunts are starting to come back, and the phantom storms and the overblown risks beyond 120, they're all starting to show. I wouldn't write that off on this though. Yes, some of that stuff is absolutely unrealistic right now, but it's a signal. Then it's a
Mhm.
signal that there could be a problem next week. We get inside 120 hours and it's still showing that. Start paying attention.
Yeah, as for Florida and the Southeast at large, we do this kind of piques my interest a little bit. I'm a bit of a fan of Northwest flow setups for the Southeast. They have been pretty productive in terms of some crazy storms that I've seen growing up in Georgia. I'll have to check in on that because that does show some potential. But sometimes when you get northwest flow over the southeast and you have enough moisture and everything in there, you can get these big storm complexes, especially if there's some type of boundary that is in place. So that'll be worth watching. But for Florida, get ready. It's going to get dry and warm again. There's
Yep.
going to be really no rain. I don't see the sea breeze going off with this type of environment,
No.
especially if this sustains and we just end up in this big fat ridge for a while, which looks like
Sitting
that's
under.
gonna happen. Um, yeah, we could be dealing with more fire weather in the long term.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Yep.
I think that's a bit better relative humidities, considering what we were seeing a couple weeks ago with dew points really down in like the 50s, 40s at times. But thankfully, a
You got
lot of it just got like pretty much everywhere got 4 or more inches of rain. So fuel moisture is better now, but it won't take long to dry out again.
And the big concern is also the invasive sawgrass in the center of the state. Um, it'll burn soaking wet, and a lot of it has been dried out because of this drought. You see fields and fields and fields of that sawgrass. It's all paper brown. It's all dry. It's just waiting on a strike or a match or a cigarette. And if you saw the video that we put up a few days ago, uh, I was chasing a hail, two lightning strikes. I mean, moments later, two blazes. Had to help a direct Polk County fire in. Next day, strike early in the day, Alfire River State Park. Big chunk of the park went up in flames. Storms kept initiating over the area with more lightning strikes. They had to let the thing burn. They couldn't get in there. They kind of had to just set the line and dig in. Burned for forever. Burned a lot of the park, but I mean, that's where we're at right now. Uh, Milton was very, very wet. The sawgrass responded in a major way. The drought responded after that in a major way. The sawgrass dried out, and I mean, green sawgrass will burn when it's wet. How much more of that dry sawgrass with all those oils just packed in? So, yes, please be careful. Do not mow um, any of that tall grass right now. Be careful about even using any kind of grinder tool, anything that could generate a spark. You don't want to be using that stuff right now because it'll burn faster than you can run, and
Yeah.
your whole front yard will be ablaze, or your backyard will be ablaze before you can even blink an eye. Very large fire right down the road from me, 15 acres at a barn went up in flames. I mean, in just moments because some joker was ignoring the burn ban, started a burn pile, and his whole field and his barn and everything up like faster than they could get the fire trucks out there. Because I mean, like I said, it's gonna burn faster than you can run. Everything is, even though we've had good rain and it's made a good cut in. Fact of the matter is that stuff's still dead and dry, and with that sun baking, I mean the temperature forecast for Central Florida hits 97 3 days in a row next week. 97, 97, 97 at the beginning of the week. And I mean, that's just going to act like an oven. It's going to bake and dry out all of that grass. Ground may be moist, but the grass won't. Grass will dry quick, and you're going to have a lot more fires to deal with. And for those of you with sensitive systems, I know a lot of y'all are suffering. I have been too. That smoke is just going to do nothing but aggravate your allergies and your respiratory system. So just be mindful. You see smoke in the air, you might want to stay indoors.
Yeah. So just for fun, let's just get a little look at the Euro pattern. Once again, this is the Euro ensembles. I'm going with QPF, so that's quantitative precip. So this is just kind of a guess at where you are going to have favorability for rain. So there's that blow up Wednesday night. There's your Thursday, Friday. So there you go with those nocturnal storms right into the
Yeah.
Ozarks. So boom, boom. We keep going. Let's see if it starts to ping Texas again. So it's reading the lighter precipits over here. This is reading supercell development. This is more of storm complex
Yeah.
development. So you see
MCS.
how that's getting into Georgia, stuff like that. That's something to watch for. This is just the remains of that upper level low. But notice nothing.
Nothing.
Really nothing. This is reading maybe the potential for sea breeze showers, but
That's
I
it.
just,
Showers at most. Just
yeah, I don't see it.
bleak outlook.
So we'll let this just run all the way through. And at this point, I believe the model, yeah, it's been on low power mode. So at that
It's
point,
yeah.
whatever precip it's painting over Florida is just kind of extrapolation of precip that's happening
Climatological.
elsewhere.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, expecting an active period over here. Warm temperatures everywhere in the southeast once this upper level low kicks off. Maybe even some 80s into this region. Although you're going to be kind of on the backside of that trough for a minute, so maybe New England gets spared and you're only in the upper 70s, mid 70s for a minute. Absolutely baking in Texas for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. No end in sight.
And cycles of storms through the traditional tornado alley. So we'll see. We'll have a new forecast up hopefully tomorrow once some more data comes in for the severe weather threats in the upcoming days. And then we'll go from there.
That's good. Have a good night, everyone.
See ya.